So, welcome everyone to another session for Gamprog 1. Today, we're just going to talk about navigation using the navigation of Unreal and using the nav mesh of Unreal. So, yung mga nakapag-start na sa project, have you guys encountered yung sa navigation for the enemy? I guess wala pa nagsastart. Okay. So, uh, it's fairly simple naman. You just have to understand some concepts about it. So una, navigation. So navigation is how can an object move from point A to point B. So if you manually code it, it's quite inefficient because it only works for one kind of map. Yung sasabihin niya, okay, after 100 units, turn left. After 100, another 100 units, turn left again, etc. So, yes, it is recorded. So yung ganun is hard-coded and only works for one. So si Unreal, what they have is a AI. Meron na silang sariling AI that understands the layout of the level, of it. It can avoid the obstacles and decide how to move to a specific location. That way, like yung mga natuto ng mga A-star, whatever, parang ganun. Pero in this case, it's built in sa Unreal. So, in order for the game to know ano yung mga walkable or unwalkable, you have to use it uses the navigation mesh. So the navigation mesh or yung nav mesh, it stores the data which areas are walkable and walkable. So if you see here, ang data na to is itong green. So lahat ng green nito, alam ni Unreal na these are walkable. The AI can go walk in this space or area. Yung mga hindi naka-green, yung mga to, hindi siya walkable. Meaning, the enemy is not able to go to here. There's no physical way for them to go up here. Kaya green siya. Right. So in Unreal, it is represented by a nav mesh bounce volume. So si nav mesh bounce volume, you have to use that sa level mo. So that uh, magagamit mo yung nav mesh. So objects within this volume are read by the navigation system. So in order for the AI to start moving, you have to use pathfinding. It uses a pathfinding where an AI decides to move, it'll trace the nav mesh and determine the shortest path. So the AI can only move within the nav mesh. So anything outside the nav mesh, let's say andito lang yung nav mesh mo, anything outside it, hindi niya hindi niya ko-compute kasi wala siyang data at all on that grade area. So we can use any of this function based on your needs. So we can use to move to location kung gusto mo ng specific location. Or move to actor if you want to set a goal sa like you want to go to this actor. So saying siya yung goal. And may mga simple naman. Simple move to location, simple move to actor. So in case you need some specific um, parameters like the acceptance radius, which uh, it'll accept it will be okay na kahit na within, like in this case, dapat on spot siya. Pero kapag like 200, that means okay lang na the destination is within 200 units from, I mean the player, the whoever that target is within 200 units. Mga ganun. Okay, so the return value determines the result. So itong return value, enum siya. So if you guys don't know enum, parang siya value na may pangalan. It's technically just an integer, but it has a name to it. In this case, it could be successful or failed or ongoing, yung mga ganun. Any questions here? Navigation mesh, pathfinding. None. Okay. So I'll show you how it is. So here we have our uh, map. So like I said, you need to use nav mesh bounce volume in order to make Unreal calculate ano yung walkable and walkable, and gagawa siya ng nav mesh. So in order to do that, you need to have the place actors. So kung wala kang place actors, you go to Windows, place actors. Okay? So you need this. And then you just have to go to where's that? Is it volumes? So under volumes, you see all of this. But all you need is nav mesh bounce volume. Ito. So this is the one that creates yung mga nav mesh. Now, how do we show yung green? Right now, all you can see is this box. And it isn't really that intuitive. Di mo alam kung, I mean, pwede nga siya mas malaki. Pero, it's not, you can't really see it. So, in order to turn on yung green na thing, you have to make it show. Show navigation. And there you have our nav mesh. So again, show navigation. Or you can press P. So if I press P, ayan, lilitaw siya. And you'll notice na nagsastop lang siya dito. Hanggang dito lang siya. But it never went up here. The reason why it never went up there is because if you check our nav mesh bounce volume, if I make it back to, let's say, 200, makita mo na the volume is only until up here. So if you increase that, or if you move it, I increase this here, and I also increase it on the z-axis. Ayan. Now it has the green. So you don't have to mind it's floating, whatever. Alam na naman yung Unreal na this is walkable. Alright? So if you play, of course, wala namang mangyayari, yung makita. What we need is our AI. So gawa tayo ng sobrang simple na AI. So we have here blueprints. Let's create the character, which will be enemy. So this enemy, let's just give it a mesh. We'll give it a animation. Yeah. And the most simple one that we can do is on begin play, I want it to move to actor. For controller, you can just get controller. Hopefully that works. And then my goal is first, first player character. Okay, so on begin play, it will just try to move to player character. So ipakita natin. Let us place the enemy here. The player will spawn here. So if I play it, ayan, it starts to chase. So it's not moving yung animation because you have to turn on something here. I'm not sure if I said it here or said it in another class, but you have to turn on a tick. I just forgot which one. Is it here? Yeah, I forgot which one here. Pero you just have to tick somewhere here so that the character will I mean, the animation will work correctly. Here, yep, nope. I think you just Googled it. Okay, so simple. It's just simply trying to move to me. We can also try to use the other one, the more complex one, which is move to actor. So right now, di siya I can do this one. Okay naman siya. This is another one. Uh, it works the same way, but you can choose either goal or location or actor. Okay. Yung isa, you can only access it through get AI controller, and then you can access here move to actor. Okay. So pwede rin to. You just have to add like get controller here, and it should act the same way. My goal is again the player. I can just leave all this, it's okay. And if I play, it does the same thing. It'll start chasing the player. Now you'll notice that if I go up here, it'll also pathfind. But if I fall, below. Let's move for a bit. If I fall, I believe it should calculate going down there to go to me. So di siya magja-jump. Kasi you'll notice that it's empty here. There's no green here, meaning, okay, so AI cannot go here, so it gets the shortest one, which is going down here pa, and then around. And then you'll notice that if I move this, oops, not that one. If I move the nav mesh here to the left, so half of it has a nav mesh, half of it doesn't have. If I move to the non-nav mesh, wala. If I go back, di na siya gagana because it only happens to begin play. Since nag-fail siya, hindi na siya mag-chase. Same thing if I call this in begin play and I am outside of the nav mesh, if I play, it's not gonna start chasing. And it will never work. So if you want to make it always chase, you can do it on event tick. Pwedeng ganito. I believe it should work correctly naman. Ayan. So if I'm out, hindi siya mag-chase. If I'm inside, it'll start chasing again. Okay, any questions here? So again, nav mesh bounds volume to create the nav mesh here. And then all the green part is walkable. You just have to make it show so it can help you to seeing where it is. Yeah. Any questions? None. Okay. There are no questions. Let us continue. Now, let's go to dynamic nav mesh. So if your level is procedural, yung current na nav mesh natin, hindi siya gagana. Because if you'll notice that if I play this, ito yung nav mesh natin, diba? If you remember our nav mesh bounce volume, hindi nga siya napapakita eh. But if I try to move it, let's say on our Y, hindi siya nag-update or anything. I move the Y, it's still somewhere. I mean, it moved, but it's not here. Hindi nag-update. So, hindi siya procedurally nag-generate ng nav mesh. So, in order to make it change yung nav mesh for kapag may changes sa level, you have to turn on the runtime generation and make it to dynamic. So if I go to project settings. If we go find navigation, mesh, sa dulo, here it is. Runtime generation. You can always search it rin naman. I think all settings, runtime generation. Lalabasin siya. And then you have to make it dynamic. Okay. Now with that, we also have dynamic obstacles. So setting runtime generator dynamic also allows the nav mesh to detect dynamic obstacles. So components in collision can be set to dynamic obstacles. Only do this if the object is part of the level's layout and is moving. So yung mga ganito, like may mga moving platforms ka, ayun. Or may moving obstacle ka within the level, then you would have to make it a dynamic obstacle. Or else, the same thing like a while ago, the nav mesh, hindi siya mag-update ng tama. So you have to turn on dynamic obstacle. So I think if you go here to, let's say, create an actor, dynamic, okay, hindi nga. If I create a collider, dynamic obstacle, there it is. It's in navigation. Ayan, dynamic obstacle. Okay. So there's that. And then you can set the area class kung anong klase siya. So yung area class na yun, it's a navigation modifier. It can modify the area within the nav mesh. And it can be different kinds. So you have default, you have low height, not obstacle. And these are all different. Kapag low height, that means, like isipin mo parang it's an obstacle pero you can actually crouch down under it. So pwede mo siyang gawing low height. Kapag obstacle, sa pagkalam ko, if there is no other way except through this nav area obstacle, it will actually try to go through that obstacle. Kapag walang way talaga. And you have default and null. Default is the usual. Null, talagang, I think, wala siya. Oh, you can always try it out. So you can create custom area classes for user-defined navigation. Pwede kang gumawa ng sarili mo. Any questions so far? None. Okay. Now, paano kaya yung mga open world? So if you create a huge nav mesh for an open world, it is actually too expensive. Because imagine the engine calculates all the mesh, all the sides, all the edges, all the faces. Ay, kina-calculate niya. And it's very expensive because it has to link everything together. So we only need to generate nav mesh around active actors. Everything else should be ignored. So what does that mean? Let's say may enemy ka. And of course, si enemy may mga area lang siya, diba? Na parang if you're near the enemy, it'll start being aggressive and chase you. So he doesn't need to know how far you are, how near you are. As long as you're within his area, dun siya mag-chase. Right? So that's why you should use parang si navigation invoker. So si navigation invoker, all it does, it'll just create the nav mesh around whoever has the navigation invoker. That's all it does. Okay? So this is good only for big levels. Okay? Just for big levels. Yung sa atin, not really. We can have a different approach to our game. So nav mesh bounds mode should cover the entire area of the map. So same thing, dapat nav mesh bounds volume should cover, pero naka-on itong si generate navigation only around navigation focus. Again, this is in the project settings. Okay. Any questions here about the using navigation invoker? Okay, no questions. I'll show this to you again later. We'll just go through all of this. Next, we have generate nav mesh on demand. So if you want to the nav mesh to update on a certain time, you can have it on demand by using the navigation bounds updated. So use it nga kapag nagpo-procedurally expand ang level mo. So it's inefficient if you have like a really long nav mesh bounds volume. Inefficient siya because may limit pa rin siya. Even if it's 1 million na scale, may limit pa rin siya. Kasi after that 1 million unit, wala na. Di na siya gagana. So what we'll do is we will have the nav mesh like follow the player para parang it will be around the player and it will be infinite because it's following the player. So to do this, it is best to be done in the level blueprint. Oh, it's the same thing. Sorry. Okay. I'll show you this first because this is what we're about to do on our game. So let's say I'll just do it here. I will make our nav mesh bounds volume just to a square. Bakit green? Di ko rin alam. That's not supposed to be there. Hold on. Yeah. So bug siya. So whatever. It's getting super pixelated ba? For you. What if I change this into this one? This will lower the FPS of the video, but it should be more readable. Dapat. Okay. So problema lang dito itong recording is if I move it, it will update really slow. But again, at least it's clear. So I'll take it a bit slower now. So here I have a square. Ito, don't mind this. I think it is a bug. If I reload this map, it should be gone. Mesh bounce volume. Sorry, I did not save the nav mesh bounce volume. Nav mesh. Let's bring you back all the way to 400 to a square. There we go. So again, we have our nav mesh bounce volume right here. And what I want is I want it to move with the player. That way, with the endless runner, it is technically infinite yung nav mesh bounce volume niya because it's always updating to the player. So to do that, to open the level blueprint, I will go to saan nga ba yan? Hold on. It is somewhere here. Okay, settings. Level blueprint, where are you? Level. Wala, saan na nalagay? Hold on, ah. Let me just find the level blueprint. Because before it used to be up here. It's not here anymore. Level blueprint. Ayun. So here. It's in here. Open level blueprint. So itong level blueprint, it is the blueprint of the level. And you can do also yung mga add. Ooh. What happened? Yeah. Ay, mga begin play. So there's begin play also. There's event tick. So it has those. So in order for me to reference the nav mesh bounce volume, if I select it, so I selected the nav mesh bounce volume in the editor, I go back to the level blueprint and I right click, you will see create a reference to nav mesh bounce volume. You have all this call function, whatnot. So don't mind that. What's important here is create a reference to nav mesh bounce volume. So ito yung nav mesh bounce volume here sa level. What I want is to make it follow the player. So there are two ways to do that. I can do like every tick, set actor location to the player's location. So I can do this every tick. Then, so it's move right now, it is going to the location of player. Next, we have to update, like in the slide, we have to run on navigation bounds update. So you won't be able to search it here. I believe on navigation bounds update. Okay, you won't be able to search it with the context sensitive. You need to open up first the navigation system. So we have our navigation system. And if I pull this, I am able to get now on navigation, on update, on navigation bounds updated. And what I want to update is this volume. I just copy this. Much neater. Okay, so all I did right here, I made it move to the player. And then I call on navigation bounds updated. That way, it will update the volume. Kasi here, I'll show you. If I remove this, and then let's make sure that it is in dynamic. I go to navigation. And runtime generation, dynamic. If I play this, you would notice that the box is still here, but our navigation bounds volume is actually moving. So it's it is in 1177. If I move this up or move this to another location, oh, sorry. I have to make it to movable. There, because it was static. So make it movable. Play. We go back here again. Our nav mesh bounce volume is now changing the changing location. Yeah. So if I move here, it should also move. But you'll notice that the nav mesh is still here because we never actually updated it. Ito. So if I place this here, compile, I play, and now we have a red box. So why do you think it is a red box? Red box means it is generating the nav mesh pa. Why do you think it is like that? Anyone? It's supposed to be green. Normally, it should be green like here, but you'll notice that it's red. Any guesses? No? No guess? Is there anything more since we're moving a bit? A bit? Sige. What's happening is because every tick, we are making it generate a nav mesh. So there's never a tick where the nav mesh is already there because it's trying to generate every tick. So kailangan natin may space in between. So instead of every event tick, let's make it to a timer. Set timer by event. And let's make it run every 1 second. But in half second. And make it loop. So this event, custom event, nav mesh movement. Alright, so we can't, let's not use event tick because every frame it was trying to create the nav mesh. So never nagawa yung nav mesh because it was always compiling it and generating it. So instead, every half second, it'll create a nav, it'll update the nav mesh. So if you play this and go back and check it out. So nag-green siya pero nag-red pa rin minsan. It's kind of working, but we can make it better by increasing the time. Let's say 3 seconds, every 3 seconds. And then we can also increase our nav mesh volume so it has more room to play. 1000 and 1000. Yeah, so if you play, so every 3 seconds, it is updating. And that is how we make our nav mesh procedurally creating in like different locations. So you have to make it dynamic, make it follow the player or anything. You can set it to whatever. Doesn't have to be the player. Up to you. In our case, kasi in Project 2, we wanted to follow the player. And that way, it is changing yung nav mesh. So if you try to go near our enemy, since remember, event tick is trying to move the actor. Let's go near our enemy. Our enemy should now chase. So you notice na nagsastop siya because technically malit lang yung 1,000. You can make it even bigger. Like, let's say, mga 3,000. So, ganun ganito. So, no matter how big the area is, it'll try to chase. But so let's say in a bigger world, let's do it here. Here's a really huge map. Same thing. Let's do the nav mesh bounce volume. Let's make it, let's say 3,000. Let's put our enemy here. And then don't forget our level blueprint. We select our nav mesh. Go to our level blueprint. Here it is. Let us set the location to the player. To the player's location. Get actor location. And then get our navigation system. We then get the on update, on navigation bounds update. My bad. Should be on a set timer. Every 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds it will move the nav mesh. So if you play this, so forever siya mag-chase. Kahit na 3,000 lang yung, did I not? Oh, sorry. I may not have set to move. My bad. Movable. Yan. There we go. Now it should move and be infinitely chasing me until it reaches me. Okay. Any questions with the with using on bounds, on navigation bounds update? So it is like this. Yung gagawin nyo. There's a better way. I mean, less code-ish by attaching it to the actor. Pwede ganito. Kayo na bahala. Any questions? Sige, no questions. Now I'll show you yung navigation invoker. So what happens is the whole map should be, I mean the nav mesh bounds volume should be cover the whole map. That means I have to make this really huge. And then you'll notice my computer starts to chug a bit. Because if you see this, that is how many yung kailangan niya i-compute. 24,000. And then just imagine each movement. It's gonna do that. Yeah, very inefficient. If you build it, if I press P, it's not even covering everything. Let me just change my speed. Di pa nga eh. Di pa nga yun ano eh. Di pa nga to kasama. Because I think my nav mesh bounce volume is small. But anyway, you get the point. It's too huge. It takes too long. So, sa mga open world, what we want is we use our navigation invoker. So if you turn it on here, project settings, we go to navigation mesh. Is it here? Invoker. Hindi pala. System. Here we have generate navigation only around navigation invoker. So if I press this, you will notice na wala yung green. Kahit na naka-show, wala siya. Because just like it says, it will only create a nav mesh, a navigation around navigation invokers. So, do that. Si enemy, let's say, bigyan natin ng navigation invoker. Here it is. And then we can set some parameters, such as how huge the radius is. Let's say 10,000. Yeah, that's fine. 10,000. And now you'll see that wherever the enemy is, the navigation moves. Or yung nav mesh, na-update siya. But this only works lang kapag huge world. Kasi kapag yung sa endless level natin, there's a limit to our nav mesh. So only use this for open world. So if I make it smaller, let's say just 3,000. That means if I am within 3,000 units from the enemy, it'll start to chase me. Where is he? There. So if I'm within 3,000 na yun, nag-chase na siya. Because I entered the 3,000. But I believe... Okay, no, tama pala. And you'll notice, nag-update nga siya. Nag-nav mesh. Okay. Any questions so far with navigation invoker? None also? Okay. I think the last one was the last one is our obstacles. So let's create an obstacle here. Let's give it a mesh. It's cube. So si static mesh, it also has yung navigation. Dapat. Hindi pala ata. Navigation? No. Sorry. My bad. Only colliders lang. So here's our box. Let's make it the same size as our cube. Just so we can see it. So 50, 50, 50. Okay. And then we have dynamic obstacle. And then, so far, i-on muna natin to. Tapos sa bloop sa level, and let's turn it off muna. Itong follow. Let's put our obstacle here. And you'll notice, wala na yung nav mesh around it. Because it is not a walkable thing. Sabi natin kasi obstacle siya eh. So if we move our obstacle, exchange din yung ating nav mesh. If I had this off, I believe it won't update. It still updates. It's updating because dynamic. I see. I turned it off. Still on dynamic. It should work. Yeah, whatever. So here we can have different types of override. Let's say low height, null obstacle. So kapag yung default is the usual, so nothing really special about this one, and it still acts like an obstacle. See low height, I don't think it will appear. Low height. Ayan, di talaga siya napapakita. We didn't also set here kasi na pwede mag-crouch si player. I see enemy. So it won't really see. But if you change it to the nav area obstacle, you'll notice it should appear a bit differently. Dapat. Girlfriend. So let's say this is the only area they can enter. Let's block off everything else. Ayan. So we blocked off all the ways to enter except through here dapat. So ang dapat mangyari is the enemy should go through here kasi nag-glitch yung hold on. Okay, let me just remove this. But it's still glitching. Yeah. Oh, come on. Let me just make this small. Ayan. So it should still try to go through. So you notice na parang chase pa rin ako kahit na may block. Alam ko na it shouldn't at all if I, let's say, cover this. Oops. It shouldn't try at all. Ay, hindi pa rin. Huh. Works differently now. Supposedly, this should show a different color. Kapag naka, let's say, hold on. I think it's because of this. Navigation. Obstacle. Let's say, this is no collision. Ayan, here we go. Sorry, because the cube was a solid, so it actually detected na it's gonna block. So ulitin natin. We have our blockage here, pero meron tayong obstacle na block here. And it should show orange. Let's say, increase natin ng size. Ayan. So technically, it shouldn't go through. However, since there are no other places to go, it will force itself through the collider. So if you return it back to, sorry, if you return it back to just default, so it won't pass through. Magsa-stop siya. Dapat. Because collider is overlap only. Huh. Dapat siya mag-stop. No, sorry. hold on. Let's say overlap all. Overlap dynamic. This should be Huh. Null. So null is talagang they cannot pass through. Obstacle, it is not, they should not pass through it if there are other ways. But if there are no other ways, then it will go through here. So tama nga. So to go through here. Pero kapag may ibang way, so well, let's make this shorter. If there are other ways, it will go through that instead. Ayan. If there are other ways to pass through, it will go to that. Pero kung wala, it will just go through here. So I think it's used for yung mga AI intensive games na may mga maraming blockage. In case na the AI gets stuck, ayan, they have something to pass through. Okay? So this one, not really used for your project too also. Siya ginagamit. Ang ginagamit lang natin is yung una kong pinakita. Okay, okay? So daming lots of mistakes happening there, but you know, it do be like that. So it's gonna force itself. Okay, any questions? So you can play this, or you can play around with this. You can use it sa mga future games nyo na, let's say may you need to use navigation. So low height, low low height, it should not really. It should try to crouch, but we did not really code it na pwede mag-crouch si player. I see enemy pala. Okay, any questions? Ilang naman ate sa amin. For navigation. No questions? All good? Okay. Mukhang wala namang questions. So if there are no other questions, that's it for today. Ah, hold on. Let me just double check the attendance, ha. Yung mga wala dito kanina. Si Navarosa. Parang siya lang, no? Trinidad, wala. Sonico, wala. Si Labaco. Casabuena. And Kabatu. Yeah, I think that's it. Sila lang yung hindi present today. Regarding due dates, so na-extend na may ni Miss Veron yung grades. So 13. December 13 is your due date for everything. I think kaya naman siya. Obstacles pickups are almost as the same as previously, but may mga extra whatever. Si endless level, zombie. Zombie basically just follow whatever we learned today. Ayun yun. You have a concern. Okay, sige. So if you want to change the movement speed, remember you can change it to character movement. See max walk speed. We can always change that if you want them to walk slower. So yan, 300 na lang yan. Then if you want to make it like put a variable here, like walk speed, and you want it to change, changing this will change the one in the character movement. You can always do that through the construction script. Set max walk speed. So this way uh, you can just change its variables and not through the character movement. You can do that. Not required, but uh, you can always do that. So if I make this to 100, it should be much slower. Okay, construction script actually runs before the game. That's why yung sa project 1, they were saying that you should use construction script so you can show the uh obstacles or the pickups right here in the viewport. It's rarely used itong construction script. Only use it for like yung mga if you want it to run even before begin play. Okay. So like if I add here like add a child actor component and a let's make this to set class. What class do I want? Is your sphere? What do I want? It's a cube. It's a new blueprint. Let's make it front. So if I compile this, you will notice that we now have a cube in front in our viewport. It's not here, but if you play the game, or yeah, lalabas siya dito sa editor right away. Kaya nga, if you like try to, let's say, make our cube randomize, like random range of negative 100 and 100 on our Y, you will notice now that each time I do something, let's say I move, let's say add sphere or whatever, you will notice that our cube moves every time I move it. So parang that means construction script is running each time a change is made, whether it be values, whether it be values or something. Ayan. So if I change this, nagcha-change siya. Rarely do you need to use construction script. Okay? When a change is made, sir, even it's running po. Well, when it's running, hindi. When it runs, it stays as is na because it only happens once, which is before even begin play. It's between begin play and pag-spawn. So right now kasi it's randomly running because I'm changing something. Pero when you press play, wherever it is, it will stay there na. Any other questions? Or may gusto ma-clarify? It doesn't have to be about this. It can be about anything else. Sige. Kung wala, again, just message me or message the group if you have any questions or concerns for your project. I am happy to help. Okay? Kasi learning is not just within the class, but can always be outside of class. Asking questions, you learn something from it. Okay? So, yeah. That's it lang. Sir, when po pala ma-upload yung class recordings? Mamaya. I-upload ko to. Okay? Ayun, sige. So, again, just message kung may questions kayo. So, that's it for the day. You guys can go and enjoy the rest of the day.